Hello, I'm BX2Cat, and welcome back to the second channel video. Today I have some more Geography of Toycat for you all, and today I'll be going through 5 countries that I think will start to exist in the next 100 years or so. The reason I'm doing this video is because, 1, I think it'd be cool to do kind of a list style video like I do on my main channel, and 2, it's because I find that it's really interesting to talk about the future of geography, which sounds really ridiculous, but the thing is, geography is constantly changing. The number of countries in the world is constantly going up, the list of countries, the number of countries, it's going up, it's not going down. Countries, generally speaking, the exception of multinational nations like the UN and like the EU. Besides that, they are generally splitting up more than they're getting together. You wouldn't see the USSR be formed today, you wouldn't see Yugoslavia come together today, and as a result of that, you're going to see more and more countries split into separate bits because secession movements get stronger, because once that happens in multiple places and it's successful, then people say like, oh yeah, maybe we should split up, and as a result of that, more countries will exist in the world. Today I want to talk about 5 countries that might exist in the future, and we can start with Europe. I figured Europe's kind of like, within Europe there's so many different places. Already there's so many different distinct regions, but even within those distinct regions, like, in France, within the United Kingdom, within Germany, within Spain, there are so many different, kind of separate places. I want to talk about 5 places that might become their own separate country, and yeah, again, want to get ahead of the future of geography? Here you go. Hope you all enjoy the video. Let's get straight into it. So let's start by talking about the first one here, which is the most likely separate region in my opinion, and that is Catalonia. So Catalonia is a place you might know of because of its big capital city, Barcelona, which is right over here. Well known for F1, I believe, football probably, some other sports, and just a nice destination in general. One of the most famous cities in Spain, with the exception being maybe Madrid. But yeah, basically Barcelona is the second biggest city in Spain, and as a result of this, and as a result of just the fact that the people there are actually distinct from Spain. That's right, if you're from Spain, you generally probably consider yourself Spanish, unless you're from any of these regions, who all believe they're separate. This is, by the way, a list of secessionary movements in Spain. Separate region, separate region, separate region, separate region, separate region, just these most important ones. This is Catalonia, which kind of goes into France, because some of France is part of Catalonians, like kind of national kind of thing, and then that's the Basque County, which actually had a paramilitary group for it. So, whole own story of that whole thing. But Catalonia is the part of Spain which is most likely to go its own way. And why is that? Well, first of all, like I said, the Catalonians are a distinct kind of cultural people. They have their own language. It's not as widely spoken as Spanish, but most people will know it, and a lot of people will speak to each other in Catalonian. The people are Catalan, and when the country was under Franco, who was a communist ruler, if I'm not mistaken, the Catalan language was actually suppressed, and the people in general were just kind of suppressed to kind of make them come across as just an entire Spain. So obviously once that lifted, once democracy came into more, and once they started having more and more of a nationalist pride, it's been going up and up and up as far as like the amount of people who want Catalonia to either be an entirely independent province or just be an independent country in general. Every single parliamentary election, they kind of do sneaky stuff like say, this is a referendum and now we're a country, and then kind of submit stuff like that. And basically, Catalonia is going closer and closer to becoming a new country, and it looks like at this rate, it might be one of the first new countries we see in Europe as a result of an existing massive country like this. And if it's not, because again, Catalonia and Spain, they have a weird relationship. Spain really doesn't want them to leave, and that's kind of that. I want to talk about the second country that might be, one of the first to leave, and that is Scotland. So the United Kingdom is something I need to explain here if you don't already understand, because the United Kingdom is a country of countries. It's not actually that, because one, England, Wales, and Scotland are technically considered countries, but they're under the sovereignty of the United Kingdom, which makes it the sovereign country, but also because Northern Ireland isn't a country. It's a territory, which is where things get confusing. So the United Kingdom is a country of countries and a territory, or two, or something. Yeah, basically, things get confusing. It's a mess. But let's just say for now that the United Kingdom is a country of countries, but this is all of this, except for Ireland, is all owning, all belongs to the United Kingdom. So of those 4 constituent nations, England is the biggest, and as a result of the fact that England literally outweighs the other 3 by a massive margin, like England can outvote the other 3 like 5-1 as in terms of like the number of people. This means that the United Kingdom Parliament, which is they all have representation based on population, is massively weighed in favor of the is massively weighed in favor of England. Literally, all 3 of these countries could vote for one party, and they would be destroyed if all of England voted for a different party, let's say. And this means that really, when these countries have massively different political opinions, like Scotland has been having for the past 20 or so years, it kind of creates problems like this. So yeah, Scotland traditionally, at least since the 80s and the kind of Thatcher years, has been a very, very left-leaning country, whereas England in general is kind of a right-leaning country, more like more like let's say the US. And as a result of this, and as a result of just a lot of stuff, the Scots are very distinct again from the UK, because when the Romans came and invaded and took over Britannia, as it was known, instead of going all the way up to Scotland and taking over all of the British Isles, they instead just took over all the way up to Hadrian's Wall, which is roughly where the Scottish border is now, and that is, by the way, where the Game of Thrones wall comes from. So technically, you can consider Scottish people to be White Walkers if you really want to, or wildlings, I guess you should say. And yeah, that's that's horribly offensive. Don't say that. But yeah, basically, that is Scotland right there. Scotland is a massive kind of part of the UK, landmass speaking, a small part of the UK. Population speaking, and it's a part of the UK that is likely to go separate because, one, they got a parliament 20 years ago, and although it started being a kind of UK-wide party, it very soon went to be the Scottish Nationalist Party that were in charge, a party that is, one, very strong left-leaning, but also that wants the Scotland to be an entirely separate nation. In 2011, they actually won an election with the majority of seats, so most people in Scotland wanted them in charge, whether it was for independence or not, and then they actually secured a referendum, which was in 2014, and as a result of the referendum, which was 55-45 in favour of staying in the UK, things are very, very tense there. Basically, whereas before it was kind of like, yeah, I guess I want Scotland to be independent, it's now Scotland leave, or Scotland you stay, and it's a very, very, very touchy issue, but as a result of that, and the fact that Scotland and the UK have very different governments, despite kind of being a similar thing, we're going to see more and more tensions until eventually Scotland presumably does leave. There's a chance this all blows over and Scotland goes, oh yeah, I actually do quite like the UK, but more likely, kind of like what happened with Ireland at the start of the 20th century, Scotland may eventually leave and will become a very, very fragmented island. Because the United Kingdom is kind of a confusing place already, because it's the United Kingdom of Great Britain, which is this entire island, these three countries, and Northern Ireland. After Scotland leaves, whatever you call the United Kingdom isn't going to make sense. Like the United Kingdom of England, Wales, and Northern Ireland. I know that there's going to be a new name for the UK, and that means that when Scotland leaves in the next 100 years or so, you're going to have two new countries instead of one. And isn't that double the value? I think so. So yeah, with that said, let's move on to the next country that I think will start to exist in the next 100 years or so, and that is actually a region of Belgium. So Belgium is a really interesting country that this might be really common knowledge, because I don't know how many of you are from US or from the Europe and know European geography. I guess if you're watching a geography series, you probably know something about geography. But yeah, Belgium is actually divided into two separate regions. There is a French-speaking south, which is called Wallonia, and there is a Dutch-speaking north, which is called Flanders. So it's a bit more confusing than that, because Brussels, which is the capital of the EU, by the way, which is really confusing that the EU has a capital. But yeah, most of the EU buildings are in Brussels, and this is actually a separate region, even though it's within the. So basically, let me just show you. Let me type in Flanders just to show you the actual region with red, because Google Maps is really handy. I'll actually, okay, Flanders, Belgium. Yes, that's what I want. So yeah, this is the Flanders region of Belgium. That is Brussels, which is within Flanders, as you can see, but technically separate. Even though the people there will speak both French and Dutch, they're generally more Flanders-ish than they are French. So yeah, like I said, Belgium is a very interesting country for this reason, and because the Flanders people and the Dutch, even though they are kind of separate culturally and whatnot, they do actually have a lot of kind of ties together. And one of the really interesting things about Flanders and Netherlands is the fact that they have all these enclaves and exclaves, which, by the way, this little town or set of towns and villages here is really, really confusing, because there's, basically, if you look, this is the Netherlands, then this is the Belgium, then this is the Netherlands, then this is Belgium, then this. Basically, if you're going down this road, because you're, where you live is decided by your front door, these people on the right. Okay, wait, I'm a little bit lost. So, these people on the right here. Okay, we're going down the right road now. These people on the right here actually live in Belgium. Then if you go further down the road, they live in the Netherlands. The reason for this is some weird land split between the two. But it basically means, yeah, now I'm in the Netherlands. I'm just driving down the street, I'm enjoying my Netherlands stuff, enjoying my legal drugs. And then you're back in Belgium and you're just eating your Belgian chocolate or whatnot. And yeah, it's really interesting, because as you're driving down this village, you go back and forth between Belgium and the Netherlands several times. And this is really interesting because it doesn't just happen with the Netherlands, it also happens with France, where there's a part of Flanders which kind of stretches even further to the east, because Lille, which is somewhere I've actually been, by the way, actually kind of stretches into into Belgium again, which means that the borders between Belgium and both the Netherlands and France, the two big countries nearby, are kind of stretched, and that is why the EU kind of principle of just like, oh yeah, whatever, no borders needed, is kind of in place. The reasons like this see why it exists, because you can literally see streets where you're walking down it and suddenly like, I'm in France right now, and then suddenly you're in Belgium. In fact, this is the exact street I walked down. This there's a vlog of me somewhere going like, oh look, I'm in France right now, and oh look, I'm in Belgium. And if you want to see that, you can find it. But yeah, basically, I think Flanders will become separate to the rest of it. I don't think I've really mentioned that too much because of the. I think I was just talking about the enclaves and exclaves. But the reason that the Flanders region will probably go independent is because it is the slight majority of Belgium. It's something like 58% of people live in Flanders versus 42% in Wallonia, and that means that generally speaking, again, when the two sides disagree, Flanders kind of wins, and also Flanders people just kind of want to have their own separate decisions. A lot of the Flanders nationalism movement is rising, and like these sorts of things go, generally when they start rising, they rarely start to fall. So yeah, the third country you can expect is Flanders after Scotland and the rest of the UK, or UK as a lot of people call it, and after Catalonia. So what's the fourth one I want to talk about? This is a very brief one, because it's one that interests me, but that I don't really know too much about, and that is the Åland Islands over here. So the Åland Islands have a long history of, between Finland and Sweden, and basically they had a lot of wars, but the Åland Islands belong to Finland. So if you look at Finland, it includes the Åland, it doesn't include the Åland Islands on Google, but these are the Åland Islands. They belong to Finland, and they're these things right here. However, even though they're part of Finland and they're kind of near Finland, they actually all speak Swedish there. Even though Finnish is an entirely distinct language to Swedish, they all speak Swedish on these islands, and there's just 29,000 people that kind of are part of Finland, but kind of culturally part of Sweden. And I think these islands will go independent because there's something like 10% of people locally who already vote for a party, which is basically all about Ålandian independence. And yeah, it's a very tiny country, but I think it will become independent soon. And because it is that small, there's probably not going to be too much kind of complaints about it. Like, oh yeah, you want to be independent? Go. Do your thing, Åland Islands. And that's just the fourth one here. So the fifth one is the most ridiculous of these, and you're going to start to take me less seriously when I say this, but I think the fifth country that might start to exist soon is Czechoslovakia. So again, these are all things that could happen, could not happen, but the thing about the Czech Republic and Slovakia, or Czechoslovakia as they were known when they were a communist country, is they have had the most, I guess, peaceful split between two countries ever. Besides maybe the exception of Singapore and Malaysia, where there was a whole crime thing. But basically, yeah, but so Czechoslovakia, Republic and Slovakia, they actually had the closest connection of two countries, and they had the nicest separation ever. It's like, I don't know, it's like a divorced couple that are just we both outgrown each other, that's fine, and they both still kind of love each other. They still want to see the kids on the weekend, and just kind of put this in perspective. Even though the Czech language and the Slovak language are quite different, they can understand each other because there's mutual intelligibility, roughly, like with a lot of languages. When they were together, the state TV was split 50-50, so you could, basically they'd understand each other's languages by learning that way. But also, lots of Czech people and lots of Slovakians consider each other to be really, really close friends. Like, if you see someone, abroad from one of the other countries, you'd be like, yeah, you're a friend. And like I said, this is something that's very rare between two very distinct countries. And as a result of this, I think Czechoslovakia could happen. It's unlikely. There's no major political party in either country that's wanting it. But like I mentioned, they split because they were communists at the time. And at the time, Slovakia had a massive suffering Slovakia did very well under communism, whereas Czech Republic did not do very well under it. And again, this kind of distinct split and the fact that the Czech people felt like they were kind of subsidizing Slovakia kind of led to where we are today. Another kind of thing that's important to remember here is the fact, the Czech Republic has not, even though it's been doing well since it split up, Slovakia has been doing better and better, and the two countries are coming closer to being separate. Like I said, before, it felt like the Czech Republic people were, the Czechias, it's called Czechia now in English, but the Czech people felt like they were subsidizing the Slovaks, but now they're getting closer and closer. They're both a part of the EU anyway, they both have these kind of relations, and as a result of all of this, the fact that they do international peacekeeping missions together, the fact that they have similar languages, the fact that they were together until 20 years ago, and the fact that they consider each other such close friends, and even the fact that every single time a president of one country retires, they go to the other person's country to do kind of like a last moment thing there. They're close friends as countries. If any two countries are going to combine, it's not going to be Germany and Belgium. It's not going to be Latvia and Belarus. I'm just picking random countries here. But if any two countries are going to combine, it's going to be the Czech Republic and Slovakia. And I think just for a throwback, they'd call it Czechoslovakia. But yeah, those are 5 countries I think may start existing in the near future. I hope this was useful to you. Hopefully you do like the future geography. If you do, let me know. I can make another one of these episodes on something in future. If you don't, then let me know too. Leave a comment. So yeah, I hope you did enjoy Geography with Soycat. If you did, like the video or don't. Share the video or don't. And subscribe. Actually, don't. Second channel. Don't care. Bye. That's the worst outro ever.